Welcome to the South Ops Fire Weather Webcast for Thursday, August 7th. I'm your host, Kristen Stewart. High pressure remains the dominant weather feature today, and as a result, the marine layer continues to remain very shallow. Once again, there is very little in the way of coastal low clouds, which will allow temperatures to warm strongly again today. Some high clouds continue to stream in from a tropical storm in the Pacific this morning, but will be of little consequence to our weather. Over the next 7-day period, there will be very little in the way of notable changes in the overall weather pattern. High pressure will remain anchored over the desert southwest through the rest of the work week, continuing seasonably warm and dry weather over central and southern California, with little in the way of wind. By this weekend, this high pressure area will weaken, and another area of high pressure over the eastern Pacific will nudge in and expand across the western U.S., keeping conditions warm and dry into at least early to mid next week. High pressure will be unable to strengthen significantly, so we will avoid any extreme heat, and afternoon highs will remain a little above normal. Seasonably elevated fire weather conditions will continue, but no critical fire weather issues are expected through the period. Some uncertainty returns to the pattern for the latter half of next week as high pressure weakens and a troughing pattern may return, but dry and warm weather looks to continue nonetheless. Today will be the warmest day of the period as another 2 to 4 degrees of warming is expected across the region. Highs across the valleys will range in the upper 90s to 105, the high desert around 100 to 110, and the low desert around 110 to 120. The lower mountains and inland coastal plains will warm quite a bit into the 80s and low 90s thanks to the lack of marine layer clouds. These temperatures are quite a bit above seasonal normals, but not to any extreme level, and no record highs are expected. Slight cooling is likely Friday into the weekend across the majority of the region as high pressure weakens a little bit, though slight warming is likely across interior central California. Then temperatures will stay mostly steady early to mid next week, with highs continuing to trend a little above seasonal normals. Widespread cooling may return mid next week as high pressure weakens further. The marine layer will remain very shallow through the period, with limited night through morning low clouds and fog. Minimum humidity will remain mostly in the 10 to 20% range above and inland from the shallow marine layer influence, with continued single digits across the deserts and higher peaks of Southern California. Areas of fair to poor recoveries are likely in many foothill and mountain areas. The positioning of the high pressure remains unfavorable for any monsoonal moisture to come our way, keeping mountain and desert thunderstorm potential out of the forecast. Winds will primarily follow typical local and diurnal trends through the period. There will be occasional breeziness in the typical wind-prone mountain and desert areas during the afternoon and evening hours, but no significant or critical wind conditions are expected. Winds will likely peak today and Friday with local gusts around 25 to 40 miles an hour across the higher terrain and deserts. Despite the lack of significant winds, even a modest wind in alignment with terrain under these warm and dry conditions can help produce aggressive fire behavior. A northerly component to the wind may return by the middle of next week if projections continue to indicate weakening high pressure and a potential return to troughing. As for our fuels, critically dry conditions on both dead and live fuels of all classes are now present across much of Southern California, particularly from the San Bernardino Mountains and southward, but increasingly across the remaining foothills and mountains of Southern California as well. Coastal areas, as well as the higher terrain of the Sierra, continue to retain higher live fuel moisture values, which is helping to mitigate fire potential in those areas, but overall region-wide flammability is reaching a notably elevated level. While no critical fire weather patterns are expected through the forecast period, the very dry fuels, combined with the very warm and dry weather with occasional breeziness, will bring an elevated risk for new large fires. Today is expected to have the highest risk due to peaking heat and slightly breezier winds. Moderate initial attack is likely, even in the absence of lightning, as dry fine fuels create very high probabilities of ignition. Terrain-aligned fires will tend to burn very aggressively during the afternoon burn window, as we have been seeing with our current active fires. Low humidities with fair to poor recoveries will bring potential for fires to extend across burn periods, which we have also been seeing recently. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Our next webcast will be on Friday, August 8th. Have a fantastic day.